Today we're going to discuss consciousness. How does the diamond get to consciousness? I'm actually in a talk at the moment, chat with a friend of mine, and he stared at the diamond and he says he doesn't think that a diagram is going to change people's consciousness. The thing is, what if consciousness is built in? This is a process model. Okay, so it's just that I've always seen the diamond as a key or a lens, and in our current environment, it can be a cornerstone of how we see the world and how we do stuff and how we synergize and synthesize and just get the world back into balance. Because my big thing is, I believe we've over compartmentalized, and this has put the world out of balance, and now we're dealing with symptoms. But root cause is balance with our environment, balance in nature, balance in society amongst people. There's a phenomenal thing that starlings do, and it's called murmurations. And yeah, I was reading an article. When they fly as one, you can actually see that scientists and biologists and mathematicians and info guys and graphic designers are all puzzled to think that starlings move together as one, and they actually have consciousness of where everyone is around them. They want to think of it as like an animal ESP, but they don't hit each other. The same happens with sardines and fish that migrate together, and it's actually quite phenomenal. And maybe this is the point that we've lost that consciousness amongst people, that we don't actually move as one, because we've gone into and here it is, the ego and compartmentalization. And okay, so let's see how the diamond can get to consciousness. All right, so diamond theory always starts on base level. Okay, and it is a three-dimensional schemata. So from base level, we've got just run-of-the-mill, define your task, plan. Okay, so let's say, go make a cup of coffee. That's our task. Then we're going to get our mug, our kettle, our water, our coffee powder, or milk, sugar, cream. What else would be nice? Maybe you're on a sweetener. Okay, that's your. And then you'll develop your plan, and you'll get the stuff. Oh, and HR, always yourself. There is HR. Okay, unless you're in a coffee shop, then you'll just ask the waiter, and he'll go and outsource it again. But note, it's still in a diamond. Okay, then you'll make the coffee, turn the kettle on, put the powder in the mug, put the sugar in the mug. Some people like milk first, others like milk after, so you put the milk in, and then the kettle clicks, and you pour the water in, and you stir, and you blow a little, and you taste, and it's a cup of coffee. Fantastic. Then you'll reflect, still too hot. If you drink it immediately from previous lessons, you'll know you're going to scald your tongue. And so you wait a while, and character is your behavior, beliefs, values, attitudes, and behavior. Some people, due to their beliefs, have different coffee. Okay, sometimes because of economic reasons, we have different coffee. Because of physical environment, you have different coffee. If you're in a rush, you'll have a cup of instant. If you've got more time, you can wait for it to brew, you can put it through a percolator. There's all sorts of variations on just a cup of coffee. Now watch this. Coffee, politics, behaviors, values, beliefs, values, attitudes, behavior. That's your character. Okay, and that's based on upbringing, environment, people that you've come into contact with, people that you are, let's say, in language acquisition, we imitate. So therefore, in our behavior, we also imitate. In our beliefs, we imitate. And this determines how you're going to define your task. And this is all politics, so to say, because politics is your background, your beliefs, your faith, your religion, the people you're in, the groups you're part of. And so that's all politics. That's just run-of-the-mill rules and norms and values and what's expected of the system. Okay, and this is acting in on you, and this is how you're going to define your task and how you'll plan. Economics, well, depending on your economic position, you'll choose between, let's say, cheap instant coffee with chicory, or you'll have a more expensive instant coffee, or if you have the resources, you'll have all that, and the time, you can have a filter and you can percolate your coffee. And this all comes into your planning, how you're going to develop your plan, how you're going to actually do your stuff, do your plan, make your cup of coffee. This is just a cup of coffee. Okay, I'm not going to get into hardcore stuff like building dams and placing borders of countries, but it all runs the same. Okay, and then physical environments, well, I'm in the kitchen, or I'm at a coffee shop, or I'm at a friend's house, and I'm going to use a mug, or I'm going to use a coffee cup with a saucer. There's actually differences here. If I'm making an espresso, it'll be a short cup, and this fits into, and I can assess it in a physical environment, and this in turn is what I'll be reflecting on. And then our social interaction, or social interaction with myself, as I'm reflecting, I'm learning lessons. Maybe I want a grappa on the side, but no, that again is part of a cultural thing, so it's social, and this will again influence my character. Just a cup of coffee. Now, okay, so now that's base level diamond. One-dimensional, two-dimensional, flat. Now, what's it serving? So it's either serving ego, which is self-satisfaction, me, or it's serving a point of becoming. If I have coffee, I'm satisfied. If I'm having coffee for a point of becoming, then it's about the aroma, the greater good. Again, personally, coffee wakes you up, so there's a caffeine boost as well. So you become more friendly. Okay, now it gets fun. So now the diamond actually has to go into a Taurus, and it builds out into a point of, okay, so hang on. Moving to a point of becoming, you'll note suddenly our terminology changes. Politics becomes vision. And this is my actual problem with the political system at the moment, is very few countries have a clearly defined vision that they're moving towards. I live in South Africa. We live according to the NEPAD plan, but that vision has never been adopted to the point of implementation. So therefore it's just a nice plan on paper. The NEPAD strat, and this goes with a global strat of water for all, education for all, sanitary, and it's basic infrastructure stuff, movement, better households. But the thing is, until that becomes the vision, and we actually start moving towards it on a national level, and then national has to get that into province, province has to get that into municipal, and then it can start changing. But no one's taken ownership of the vision. Great vision. Okay, so when there's a great vision, let's go back to World War II, and we think of the Allies who have to go and free Europe. The goal was get to Hitler. But it wasn't so much just Hitler. Hitler's one man. It was about putting out a whole system, overhauling a whole system, the whole Nazi political system, which infiltrated the Nazi economics, the Nazi environment, and the Nazi social aspect. There's a whole big system here that actually the vision was, we've got to go and free Europe. Because this is disjointed right now. There's a whole ploy at the moment. We're in serious unrest in Europe. It started with Russia, Ukraine, but what's the goal? And we can actually reach the goals without having to go through a war. I believe it. We just have to change the lens by which we look. The American business model is built on war. First World War is where they tested. Second World War, they basically didn't have any home damage, so therefore they were just making money. And then I think after the Second World War, they haven't won a single war, because war is business. That's not nice. Vietnam, they didn't win. Korea, they didn't win. Korea, they actually just, I don't actually know what happened to Korea, but I know they split it into North Korea and South Korea. Okay, and then we've had this long schlep through Iraq and, yeah, Afghanistan for years. Okay, but I'm not going to get into war, but war is force. War isn't power. So therefore, whose ego are we serving now? The question is, who's the ego? Where is the ego? Okay, but it's business systems, according to me. It's not one person. It's a whole system of how we see the world, and we're actually just trapped in it. So if we change it to a diamond, okay, so now how do we get to consciousness? Okay, so we upgrade and we get to a point of becoming. There we're running through vision, exchange of energy, exchange of ideas. Within a context, right now I'm speaking to you in a context of cloud. It's beautiful, okay? And then social becomes evolution. You evolve me and I evolve you, and so we change. Not revolve or re-evolution. Evolve. It's a present continuous tense. It's always happening. Okay, so now the diamond comes together at a point of becoming. And this is where it goes beautiful, because then we go up again into diamond 3, diamond theory 301, where politics became vision, vision becomes awareness, and economics went to exchange, exchange becomes anticipation. Physical environment becomes a context, which becomes accountability, because all of us are accountable, whether it's good or bad. The problem is politicians aren't being held to account for. There's corruption, there's mismanagement of funds, there's policy decisions that are affecting people, but somehow politicians think they're in power. They're not. They're there in force. Because if they were in power, they would be doing it in love. Gandhi style. Mandela style. They all preached that we had transitions of government systems without war because of love. Okay, so and then social becomes evolve, and evolve becomes adaptability. We are all built to adapt. We adapt through seasons. We adapt through economic recessions. We adapted through COVID. We adapted to lockdowns. We adapted. The human being is the most adaptable animal on the planet. We can live everywhere because we can make a plan with regard to food, water, heat, and shelter. Because we were blessed with grey matter between our ears, and with that we can be aware of what's around us, anticipate the downstream effects. If I go out now during daylight, I can collect enough wood and food so tonight when it's cold, I can make a fire and I can eat and my family can be warm. Okay. We can anticipate. We can be accountable. If I do not do all of that, I will freeze tonight. So I'll be accountable for either the malnutrition of my family and with that we can adapt. If I didn't pick enough berries today, I can make more tomorrow. And now it's going back 1,000 years or 3,000 years, but that's how we evolved as a species. Now we've got exchange of ideas, exchange of products, exchange of services. Everything's on exchange. You can exchange writing skills on Fiverr. It's phenomenal. I can write a paragraph and get paid for it to help someone advertise or blog or inform. Our world is information at the moment. Okay, but so it's about the lens we see it through. And now the beautiful thing is the diamond evolves again to a 4th level diamond, where politics went to vision, vision went to awareness, and a heightened level of awareness is consciousness. I'm aware that there's a bookshelf behind me, but when I focus on it, I become conscious of it, and I start looking at the books, and I say, wow. Economics becomes exchange, transmutes to anticipation, which is all energy. Physical environment, context, accountability, vibration. And last, the social evolves, adapts, frequency. And you'll see those four aspects are Tesla model: consciousness, energy, vibration, frequency. And I've been actually trying to figure out vibration and frequency for a while. This morning I was talking to my wife, and I'm like, Brandon asked me about consciousness, and I said, but it fits in on Diamond Theory 401 in this point here. But we've got to balance everything to balance that one point as well. You can't just raise your consciousness. What's that mean? What am I going to do with that extra level of consciousness? I'm conscious of the bookshelf if I'm going to be reading a book. If I have a need to read a book, I need to find something out. The energy is going to be required. You've got to put energy into a system to make something happen. Now that energy could be anything. Heat energy on the kettle, electrical energy that's converted into heat energy to create a boiling effect of the water. Okay, vibration is physical environment, because everything that you touch or tap makes, just two Swiss Army knives, makes a sound. Therefore, tangible can vibrate. Intangible is frequency. You wouldn't have listened to this point in this if we weren't on the same frequency. And all of this, then that diamond takes you up and it reaches a point of the divine. So, Brandon, to answer your question, can this diagram change people's consciousness? As soon as you've seen the whole diamond and seen this interaction, I've shown you the forest, down to the leaves, up to the trees, and then the growth pattern of, because it really gets freaky when you see four diamonds above each other, because suddenly we get into going supernatural with Joe Dispenza, and all he's doing is creating consciousness, but through actual physical actions as well, exercises, meditations, process of going from being someone to nothing, because you are nothing, but you're part of the whole. And then you get Wayne Dyer, whose also whole mission was consciousness, but we are conscious. As soon as you've focused on something, you become conscious of it. And with consciousness comes a serious level of energy, and with that, anticipation, because you'll be able to understand that if I drink this cup of coffee now, I will be more awake. So I don't think it's going to be wise to drink this tonight before I go to bed, because then my sleep isn't going to be as deep. And we can start seeing how things happen in a downstream effect. Something like glyphosate started being used like big time in 1996. And the excuse was, don't worry, it's water soluble. But now 30 years or 20, 24 years, 25, 26 years later, we can actually see that glyphosate, the first time, when you've sprayed glyphosate over your wheat so that the wheat all dries at the same time, that's good for economics, because then you can harvest at the same time and all your wheat is dry at the same level. But the next time that wheat or that glyphosate gets a point of water to dissolve is inside the human body, when it's in bread. So from the wheat, it goes to the mills where it gets milled. So it's still there as residue. And then into the bread where it gets put under heat as well. Heat doesn't break it down, water does. That's the rule with the glyphosate. So now it's in your bread, and you char the bread, and suddenly you've got a toxin inside you that's designed to kill weeds. So now the question is, are you the weed? Because nowhere has it actually had time to have the glyphosate washed off. Yeah, but it's minimal levels. The thing is, your body isn't designed to get rid of toxins that it doesn't recognize. So now there's a glyphosate chemical compound inside you, and your body's saying this doesn't belong, but maybe the detox pathways are already under strain or stressed. And then we wonder why we've got suddenly an uptake in irritable digestive issues. I'm not a doctor, so I can't use names. Digestive issues, cancers, autoimmunes, everything's going up because we've got a chemical overload. And it's not even just the glyphosate, it's the air we breathe. There are hundreds of thousands of toxins that have been added due to the industrial complex coming up, creating employment on the one side, but killing us on the other side. Because as fish inside this bowl, and our bowl is unfortunately the size of our atmosphere, there's only so much chemical we can add to the terrain that we're being exposed to. And some areas are cleaner than others, but not everybody can go and live in a blue zone. That's just not, you can't put 7.8 billion people in a blue zone. So yeah, consciousness is, now that we know, how are we going to fix our environment? Because we can't go and say no but, and we can't outsource it either. You are the diamond. You are the diamond. You are the 4 diamonds. And with that, you've got to lay your cornerstone, and you've got to take responsibility, accountability, anticipation, awareness, adaptability, raise your consciousness, raise your energy, raise your frequency, raise your vibration. It's imperative. We have to do that all now together to reach big goals like progressive development, careers, empowerment. And if everybody's living life to the full, everyone realizes he's a diamond living life to the full. Imagine heaven on earth. Perfect point of heaven on earth for everyone. They're your cornerstone. Many blessings.